Hey, folks, so welcome back to this week's Ambassador Talk. My name is Jason David. This is an Air Force Wounded Warrior sponsored education series, hopefully letting people know what AFW2 can do for you. Today's guest is Master Sergeant Jen Ibanez. Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you.
If you'd be so kind, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Master Sergeant Jennifer Ibanez, active duty first sergeant at the 834th COST here in Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland.
So, a couple of questions for you. You are a Air Force Wounded Warrior Ambassador, just as I am, and we're here today to talk about not just the program, but what it means to be an ambassador and what services have helped you kind of recover from where you started. So, in your opinion, could you tell us a little bit about what led you to AFW2's doors?
Absolutely. In 2019, September 2019, myself and my family were involved in a motor vehicle accident. We were hit by a drunk driver, and I sustained some injuries. And it was another first sergeant who actually pushed me into being referred to AFW2 based on the injuries that I sustained from that accident.
And through the suite of services that AFW2 offers, I'm assuming that you found the ambassador program to be something that maybe you would entertain, as I did in the past. It's just a kind of a way to share your story, but then let other people know what services you might have gotten. How important to you were the services that you received?
So yes, since entering the program, I was in contact, or have been in contact with my recovery care coordinator, also known as the RCC. And there has been a number of things that she has been able to help me with. She's been the liaison between myself and my Pueblo. She has also been able to track down the status of certain medical procedures or things that I may need to have happen. And also just being in the program, one, the in-depth briefing, the time that is spent, the care that is given is just one of the many attributes to this program.
So, Shirt, one of the things that kind of tickles me the most is hearing other people share identical stories to myself. So I was very hesitant into becoming a member of AFW2, and I was even more hesitant in becoming an ambassador. I think we have both climbed that hill, and we've made it successfully on the other side. So, what I wanted to tell folks when I became an ambassador was there are so many services that are available that people just do not know about. I'm assuming that that might have been the same motive for you to become an ambassador as well. So if you could let me know from your heart, why be an ambassador for this program?
It's important to one, not only just tell your story, but to spread the word like we're doing right now, right? And not everyone doesn't know exactly about what AFW2 does, right? And sharing, I would say sharing is caring. And if we truly want to take care of our airmen the right way, this program is the benchmark to moving that culture forward.
I appreciate that answer. And to further your point, there are some folks that think that the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program is only for folks that have been combat wounded. But there are so many folks that are a part of the program that have, terminal medical illness, or in your particular case, just a violent vehicular accident. And then, of course, you have, the other issues and symptoms that people have medically that are being treated by the medical facilities. And sometimes they don't have any help. Sometimes they feel alone. But if they knew that a service like AFW2 existed, they might have a lifeline. And I think that's something important that you and I are trying to get across to the folks listening uh, to this web series.
Absolutely. And one thing that I'd like to hammer home is about the invisible wounds, right? The folks that are seeking mental health. Um, I can share. I hold a top secret clearance, and there's this huge stigma behind going to mental health and it being a huge career ender, and that's not that's not absolutely true. And being a part of the Air Force Wounded Warriors, as well as still seeking mental health for PTSD or any other types of trauma, just letting somebody know, like raising my hand saying, hey, I am not okay. That's what this program is about. they offer you your care coordinator is right there lockstep and key with whatever happens to you. So yeah, that's one thing that I would like to, push out to the masses, that don't wait to get help. Get help when you feel that you need it.
I couldn't agree with you more. In addition to not just services and support, there's also programs for the folks that go through AFW2 training. So, like stated previously, you and I have gone through the ambassador course where we met a lot of other people that were either super outgoing or super not outgoing. And it's amazing because sometimes the people that are not out in the open, they're not super outgoing, they're not what's the word, you have people that are introverted and folks that are extra extroverted, right? So
Right.
I'm on one polar side of the spectrum and you, my friend, are on the other side, which is good because in this forum we get to meet, talk to each other, and then eventually end up befriending each other and becoming that support system that you just need in life. So my question
Absolutely.
for you, when you went through the training yourself, what was it like? What's it like for someone who is afraid, not just of joining AFW2, but maybe a member of AFW2 that may one day become an ambassador themselves?
It was actually eye-opening and a great experience. So I just went through the ambassador training maybe 2 weeks ago. Of course, snow apocalypse hit in in the San Antonio area shortly following that. But it was refreshing to know that I'm not alone, right? I'm not the only person who has dealt with or is still dealing with trauma. And having that camaraderie and building that bond with people that are actually sharing their stories, it was one, a blessing, and it was just so eye-opening.
Did you find that doing things virtually, obviously this past year has been coronavirus, global pandemic has kind of set the stage for how we interact and how we do our jobs. A lot of those means are either through Zoom chats or Microsoft Teams or G Suite, and people are teleconferencing more and more. The training was 100% virtual, right?
Absolutely.
And how did you feel about that? Do you think that you got the same quality training that you would as if you were there in person? And I ask this not to discredit either side, but just what are your opinions on this form of education?
Well, of course, you miss the human interaction. I think as human beings, we need that connection, right? To be able to give a hug or to just pat someone on the back and say, "Hey, it's okay." But actually, doing it virtual, I still got that same vibe. I still got the same feeling that everyone who was in that class genuinely cared, especially when sharing the stories and when talking through our situations and things that brought us actually into AFW2. So yes, the virtual setting, while it can be daunting, because this is what we've been doing for the past year, but I would say if you have the ability to go either virtual or in person, to do it.
I appreciate that answer as well. So I don't know if you know this, but one of the members of AFW2, the support staff, his name's Sean Sprayberry. He is a famous hugger. Whether they keep this in the webcast or not, that's still up for discussion. But I would like to throw that out there in case they use it. So my next question for you is: what are some ways that you think you will stay connected now and into the future with just the folks that you've met that are a part of this program, whether staff members or fellow alumni?
So we have actually we have this Signal chat. I believe there's a chat going on. I've actually signed into the Facebook link, and usually I keep my social media kind of private, but I found it very necessary for me to keep those connections and to keep chatting and to actually be able to check on folks. And then they also did an ambassador. I want to call it a link up, but it was last Thursday, and I showed up, and it was just a couple of folks there, some that I have never met, but it was good communicating with them.
Cool, cool. And another question for you. I remember a few questions ago, you told me that you had just completed the ambassador training. So aside from this speech that you're giving today, have you done any other ambassador briefings to any squadrons or units out there, or is this the very first one?
So the very first one was actually during the training. And then next week, I will be actually giving a briefing or talking during the first sergeant council meeting. So that will be kind of like the first time in front of a larger scale audience that I'm actually sharing my story. Not that they don't already know, but they don't know in depth.
Sure. No, that's cool. So you said you gave this your story, your speech, your messaging to fellow ambassadors that just in that first week of training. How did that feel? How did it go? And is there anything that you learned from the experience?
It was very emotional. Um, and any like in with any trauma, emotions, they run high sometimes. But there was not one person in that training who did not sympathize or empathize with where we were. Um, so yeah, good. It was good.
No, that's good to hear, and hopefully in the future speeches and conversations that you have, not only publicizing what AFW2 can do for you, I hope that it helps you heal in the process as well. Like I know for extroverts, talking it out always makes us feel better. I think that being an ambassador kind of fits that bill. Do you think that's going to help you with your inner resiliency and your recovery as the years go by?
I absolutely do. A funny thing is that um, before going into before going into the training, I talked with my mental health provider and I said, "This is what I'm going to do," because in therapy he has me share my story, and I was kind of hesitant. I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm ready. But at the same time, I had to take that step back and say, I am ready to heal. And that's how I had to look at it. It may be difficult at times, but I'm ready to, move forward. And in the Air Force, we talk about resiliency all the time, and this is just another stepping stone to becoming resilient or finding your niche in being resilient and overcoming those difficult obstacles.
I like it. I like it. I think everyone that's listening likes it as well. So I'm going to drill down a little bit. This might get slightly emotional, right? As far as your situation is concerned, and with the training that you've had up to this point, what is your favorite part about this program? What touched you the most, either through your recovery process and/or your enrollment in the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program?
What has touched me the most is the level of care I've received. It doesn't matter the rank, it doesn't matter the position that you hold, the level of care that you are shown in this program is what is necessary and what is needed to pull people out of those dark spaces and those dark places. Um, and having and being in the accident, there were two other people in the vehicle with me, my daughter and another active duty member, a friend of mine. And we all have different perspectives on what happened. And usually I'm a first sergeant, so I talk about being resilient all the time. And this was the one time that I couldn't find my resilience. Like, how do I move on or get past this, or why am I still stuck in this? So having my RCC and the folks that are ambassadors and the staff reach out to me, check on me, and say, hey, it's going to be okay. We understand where you are. This is how we can help you. It has been a blessing.
So I remember talking to you earlier, especially about your daughter, right? So your daughter is absolutely your world, and she's almost a grown up for all intents and purposes,
Yes.
which I'm assuming is more fun than not right now. Mine is very young. She acts like a grown up, but she's not there yet in age. So, out of the people who helped you get up when you fell down, figuratively, or sorry, metaphorically, your first sergeant friend encouraged you to join the program. Your daughter was also, I think, a motivating factor for getting help to begin with. At this point, now that you've become an ambassador and that you're part of the program and you're sharing your story, what impact has this had on your family?
Oh man, I can tell you from beginning to end. So I'll rewind. I'll tell you how my daughter actually impacted my decision to seek assistance and to seek help. We were having a conversation, just a mommy and me conversation, and she says, "Mommy, I feel like you're trying to hold on to me too much." She said, "We were in the same accident, but I see things a little different than you. I see things as life is too short. Let's go out and let's live life. Whereas you want to, hold me close and keep me, kind of by you." And she says, "I think that you may need to talk to someone because I've noticed some differences in you. Usually you weren't so, you know, clingy to me." And I had to take a step back and think about that. Like, am I doing more damage to my family uh, than actually helping and healing? And that's when I realized, okay, I need to seek mental health. And, I need to go ahead and give my friend that okay to say, yeah, you can go ahead and refer me to AFW too. But now the impact that it's had on my family now, I'm still in counseling and in therapy, but I am also in a place where my daughter can see my growth and she's like, "I'm proud of you. I won't get in a car with anyone, but she's like, I am proud of you because at least you're able to talk to me and tell me how you're feeling and not just being, actions usually speak louder than words." And I was more so like, "No, don't go." So, yeah.
I empathize, truly empathize with you, members of my family, and including members of my AFW2 family. In the first few years of enrollment, were kind of the ones that helped me. They're non medical professionals that are still there for you, mentally. They're still there for you to talk to. They're still there for you. Um, to give you advice on what the best course of action is moving forward, especially since most of them have already heard or gone through themselves the same types of situations that we are. I think that's the power of the alumni of the Air Force Wounded Warrior program is that you're going to find someone who has something similar to you and you're going to attach yourself to that. And
Right,
then, through shared experiences, you build a bond that's stronger than steel.
right.
So my
I,
question for you, speaking of strong as steel, I heard you were kind of a fitness buff, right? So I'm going to ask you, are you interested in the Air Force virtual trials that are coming up?
I have gone back and forth. I've received a few emails and I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure if I'm ready to take that leap.
And that's normal. It took me a couple years to kind of get the guts to sign up for the virtual run, which I will do this year because I'm being peer pressured by the folks that are organizing this call. I didn't just like stare at the screen. That's breaking the fourth window. But with that said, I have another question for you. How do you keep yourself motivated, not just physically, but mentally, since coronavirus is kind of a thing that has set the stage for how we do business in 2020 and 2021? What's giving you that inner resiliency, that extra push every morning when you wake up?
My motivation has been my airmen and my family. Of course, no one has experienced anything like we've experienced over the last year, and it's difficult to just be a voice and not be seen and not be heard. Um, so it's important for me to connect with my airmen as much as possible.
I love that answer. So this is the eventual end of this short web series conversation, right? But I think we were able to pull some just mighty factoids from you that will help people and encourage folks if they're a little afraid or hesitant to join the program to maybe at least call up, look up on the website at woundedwarrior.af.mil and or giving a like on the Facebook page where it says Air Force Wounded Warrior. There's all sorts of different ways to get in contact with the folks that are either a part of the registration, part of the support system, or any of the external programs that AFW2 has to offer. So I will ask you now, Shirt, at the end of the day, what is your favorite part about AFW2 and what message would you like to give to others that are considering the program as part of their future and recovery?
At the end of the day, my favorite part about AFW2 is the connection, is the family, and they stand strong on their name, care beyond duty, and that is the absolute most favorite part of the Air Force Wounded Warrior program.
Definitely appreciate you letting me interview you as a fellow ambassador today. I had an absolute blast. We're probably going to pull you again for another week so that you and I can talk again together.
Thanks for having me, and I would love to.
Absolutely. So, for everyone else tuning in, thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments or any questions, you can always put them down in the comments. We'll be here next week, same time, to talk more with ambassadors who have things to share with you about how AFW2 worked for them and how it could potentially work for you too.